Okay, my name is Bob Erickson. I'm the lead guitar player and lead vocalist, and for the trio. Well, it's a mix. It's bluesy. At the core, it's bluesy, but then there's also swing, reggae, a little bit of blues rock from my Texas upbringing. Joe brings a very storied and legendary jazz background to the band, and we mix it all together. And through the covers that we've selected, we've tried to steer the direction of the originals, which have a mix of all the above. Probably at birth. My parents met in 1957 in a rock and roll band in Dallas, Texas. My dad was the lead guitar player, and my mom was the piano player. And on New Year's Eve 1958, the guitar player ran off with the piano player and eloped to Love County, Oklahoma, and were married. And I was born a year and a half later, and the entire house, and entire time we were growing up, I'm the oldest child, the house was just filled with music, constant playing. Both my brothers are accomplished musicians, and my brother Brian is a drummer, and my brother Bradley is a very good guitar player. If I had any sense, I would have at least learned with a piano teacher in the house. I could have learned to play piano and guitar, but it was always guitar for me. The guitar I learned on was a 1964 Gretsch Tennessean. My dad was a Chet Atkins aficionado, and upon his passing, that guitar is now in my possession. So I was learning and playing on quality equipment from day one. Okay, I've got three main influences, and then subset of influences, and I call it Club Z and B. ZZ Top, first and foremost. I'm from Texas, and that's a blues rock, and I grew up in the 70s, and it was a wonderful time. Led Zeppelin, wonderful band. And then Jimmy Buffett, my literary hero. I'm not so much of a parrot head as I considered him as a serious songwriter, and every album had wonderful songs on them, and he's a major influence on a lot of things in my life. As early as high school, I had one of my very best friends in this world is named Brent Seaman, and he's a great guitar player from my hometown of Granbury, Texas, and we started together, and as soon as we started playing, we started writing our own or attempting to write our own songs and practicing our craft, and then we played together all through our 20s in Fort Worth and Dallas before I left Texas. First of all, my partner in crime for the last 11 years, JoJo Morris on bass and vocals, and then TK Lively from Wet Willie. We had been trying to get with TK for years, and TK lives in Ocean Springs where I live, and he finally became available 2.5 years ago, and we instantly said, come with us, and he did. And then we have started playing again with Chris Alexander on keys. We had worked in 2016 and 17 with Chris, and then the separation between Ocean Springs and Pensacola, we kind of slacked off for a little while, but we're glad to be working with Chris again. What we do is Joe and I have a long-standing Wednesday rehearsal at lunchtime, and we get together and just kick around ideas and work on stuff and thoughts, and then we take them from there. And then when it's time, we get together with TK, and then now that Chris is with us, we long distance travel the song request to him, and then there we go. I don't go over and over and over on songs. Sometimes some songs write themselves in 10 minutes. Some songs you tweak and you tweak, until you get them. But then there's that moment when everything smooths out. And when it does, just stop. Just, you can always nitpick it to death. Just stop. Go play it and see how people like it. I love that feeling when there's a guitar riff, and it's an old Texas saying, it makes you want to bite a 16-penny nail in half. It's just the grit, and or just like preparing for the show, I listened to ZZ Top for 2 days. Especially the live ZZ Top, just to get that swagger, to get that feeling from the 1970s when the first time the lights went down and I saw all my heroes playing for the first time. And the 70s were a gilded age for guitar players, and it was those guys were so good that it's taken me 50 years to figure out some of their licks. But the thing is I still get that feeling when I hear it. We hope to continue to play venues and festivals and shows where we get up and play our original songs, and in a mixture of the songs that we like to play. We've never really been, we play covers of other people's songs, but we don't select what's hot on the radio. We don't select quote unquote a brown-eyed girl. You know, we're going after songs that we like, that complement the originals and kind of steer the originals. I've done that quite a bit with songs I've selected for the band to use. I think this will be a good jumping off point for the next original. It goes back to, it's like we've all got a finite time on this planet, and to leave a mark, and to leave a record of being here. You know, for me personally, it's starting to matter, and I really want to show that I was here.
Now that is the blues.